My ambition.
Hi, everyone. Oh, nice little there as well. Hello, it's Alex.
And Tiffany.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. We've got a fabulous guest for you today. And full transparency, this is take 2. So thank you very much to Lisa Gillbe, who has given us an awful lot of her time and shared some absolutely fantastic stuff with us in the conversation that wouldn't record due to technical difficulties. So I'm going to tell you a bit more about Lisa. She's a personal stylist for professionals based in London. She's run her own styling consultancy for the past 15 years and works with CEOs, hedge fund managers, bankers, and professionals of all kinds. She's also the host of a top charting podcast about personal style, the Style Stories podcast. The podcast helps women get clarity on their personal style and regularly charts around the world. Woo! And she has 2 teenage boys aged 15 and 17. Hi, Lisa.
Hello, I'm so delighted to be here today. Take 2.
Oh, yeah. This is typical ambition fashion. It never goes right the first time.
Well, thank you so much for all the time you've already spent with us. But I feel like, dry run for a really interesting and exciting conversation. So tell us a little bit first, Lisa, about what inspired you to become a stylist and maybe how your career's evolved since then.
Yeah, so it was actually over 15 years ago now that I sort of had the idea. I was working at Coutts Bank, and at that time in London, there weren't really any personal stylists. There were a handful of personal stylists. Stylists had previously been something that celebrities used, but in America, over the water in America, more executives were starting to hire personal stylists, which is a different kind of stylist, to help them with their wardrobe because they were so busy and they needed to look good. And it was when I was working at Coutts Bank that I came up with the idea. I really needed to get out of the corporate world. I really wanted to retrain and do something creative. I wanted to do something that fitted in around my kids as well. So I retrained at the London College of Fashion as a personal stylist. I then worked for a whole year for free, which was quite tough to build up my actual in-person real life experience, because you can learn all this stuff on paper, but you don't really know what you're doing until you've actually stood in a changing room with someone who's told you about their life, their hang-ups and how they want to look. That all comes from experience. So I didn't feel like I could charge for my services until I'd had real life experience. So fast forward a year later, and then my consultancy was up and running. And ever since then, I have styled, like you mentioned, executives and professionals of all kinds, but also TV personalities. I've worked with BBC, ITV, and I have styled politicians as well. I've been standing in a politician's bedroom where their very famous politician husband came in. I'm not going to use any names. But,
I really want to know.
Wink, wink.
Wink, wink. I've had some surreal experiences. It's been amazing. I absolutely love what I do. And now you can walk into John Lewis and get a free personal stylist if you want. It's become much more of a thing, really, that people use for themselves. Whereas previously it was either, an editorial stylist in a magazine, or it was a stylist for celebrities. So we've moved on.
That is so fascinating. I'm glad we got you on this on Ambition, Lisa, because we had another person, Anna Graham, and she was also creative. And when I say creative, I think this kind of like, stylist, artistic people, because I always find that in our society, it's seen as this sort of, everyone has this sort of dream of being more creative, perhaps. When we're all young, we're all drawing, but maybe we get a comment from a teacher or something, we stop the sort of creative pursuits. So I like that. It's almost like you've kind of tapped back into your passion. And I also find interesting that motherhood was that transition phase for you, because we had a conversation with them, and Dr. Anne Welsh was talking about how motherhood can be a time of growth and evolution. So it sounds like motherhood actually, whilst it's obviously difficult, it sounded like it was time for you to change and actually do something that you really wanted to do. Talk us through what that was like for you, because it's kind of been easy, right? You said obviously you had to kind of take a low paid job, but talk us through why it was just the right time.
Do you know what actually happened was I never would have thought of it, honestly. I was breastfeeding my second baby in my friend's kitchen, and I was saying, I've got to get out of corporate. I was actually, being treated quite badly. When I went back after my second child, I was sidelined. The woman who took over my role took my job, basically, and I was sidelined into insurance, which I'd never signed up for. And I was like sitting next to this lovely guy, but he was like sort of, retiring. Basically, it was like putting me in a broom cupboard, like the kind of equivalent of that. And I didn't have my job anymore, which was working with the charities investment team. They made it very clear that, I really wasn't very welcome. It was quite horrible. I mean, this is going back now 17 years. I'm not sure that much has changed. I hope it has. I haven't been in that world for a long time, but I still hear stories when women have babies going back to work, how they're treated. And I was told my biggest mistake was asking to go part-time, because I asked to go 3 days a week because I wanted to look after, my boys as much as I could and be there and not just put them in nursery, which was also expensive to do. And so I really was like racking my brains. What can I do? What's my passion? What could I be a success at? Because I want to be a success at everything I do. I'm very driven. I'm very passionate. I'm very hardworking as well. I would say they're definitely traits that I have. And anyway, so I was breastfeeding my second son, Fraser, in the kitchen. And my friend just said to me, "Sure, you should be a stylist." She said, "You're so good at putting things together, outfits together, personal style." She said, "I haven't got the faintest idea how to put an outfit together." She said, "I look like a mess all the time." She said, "I need your help." She said, "There are loads of people that would need your help. Why don't you look into retraining?" And it was just this light bulb moment, because I did used to work in retail anyway years ago in fashion. So it wasn't completely out of the blue. I've always been creative and I wanted to run my own business. I think you've got to have business skills and be good at marketing as well to be able to run your own business. So it was a combination of all these things, and I'm good with people and I like chatting, I like being on my feet, I'm very energetic, so it all just made sense. So that's when I went and trained, and I left Coutts Bank, a job that had a regular salary, but I wasn't happy there. And even though it was hard getting my business off the ground, I am such a determined person. I just always was convinced that it would be a success. And, I had that sort of conviction and that self-belief, and I really, really went for it. And I worked, worked evenings doing free talks, millions of things I can tell you that it's taken to get the business going. And it took a long time. It took a long time to get it going. It was not easy. I can tell you that now.
I think that's really interesting that you say that about, the self-belief there and the kind of determination of, I'm just going to make this a success. We talked to somebody else recently called Sophie Milliken, and she said something very similar, of setting up her own business and really feeling like I'm going to make it work. I'm determined. I believe in myself. And I feel like that is kind of a recurrent theme of people who've been able to be successful, go out on their own. You can't do it half-heartedly. So if you want to do it, you've kind of got to go all in but believe that it can be successful.
Yeah, absolutely. You really have to. And it's really hard work. Like, you might think, leaving corporate and then having your own business is going to give you more time, and it does, because you can catch up on things in the evenings, or you're not sort of doing the 9 to 5. But at some points I work 7 days a week. That's not unheard of, to keep up with everything. So yeah, but having that determination is absolutely essential. And I just knew that I couldn't be in that corporate world anymore. And it's really about trying to identify what your strengths are, and then transferring those skills into something that that could be a success. But also I think timing is really important as well. And I think when I started, there were not many personal stylists in London, so I think the timing was good. So I think that definitely helped, because now I've got a reputation, and I've got a client book and all those sorts of things. I'm not sure it would have succeeded if I'd started it now.
Okay.
Maybe. I don't know. There's just lots of different things.
No, that makes sense. I think that makes total sense. I think timing is important. They said the best time to grow a tree is like yesterday, right, or something. So there is that as well, and I think there is also this idea of timing, opportunity. Also, you doing the work. Let's give you credit for that, because timing could be perfect, but if you didn't take that step, you wouldn't be here today doing this. So I really love that. And I remember, and I think one thing I always think about, especially for my ambition, is how can we kind of get behind the mindset of people like you or different sort of women, so that we can hopefully share some lessons to other women listening to this. You maybe want to make a change, you maybe are a bit scared, because it is scary, and how can we encourage them to do it? So I'd love to know what do you think that journey kind of taught your children, or how did you think it reflected on your children? Maybe seeing you build a business, seeing you kind of bank on yourself and take a chance on yourself. What would you say that's taught your children about life and how you're a mother to them?
Yeah, I really like to think that, I'm a positive role model in that sense, to be entrepreneurial and to have to get up and go to do my own thing. I think that really will show. And also, I have been able to be around for them as well when they were little, because I didn't have to do the sort of early morning drop off at nursery and things like that. And I know a lot of people do, and you have to do what needs to be done. And a lot of the time I did think, oh my God, I wish I had a regular job. I'm gonna give all this up, and I'm just going to have a regular job with a regular salary, and I won't have to worry so much about, am I going to get any business this month? Am I going to be, there is a lot of stress that goes with it, but I don't let the kids know about that. And, my husband is freelance as well. He's freelance TV.
So you guys are like living on the edge. I love it.
We are we live on the edge. Exactly. We're like literally surfing through life. It's hopefully it'll be all right, but it definitely makes you work harder, because you've got to be constantly marketing your business. What the work you do now really sort of determines whether you're going to get clients in 6 months' time, if that makes sense. So it's so you have to constantly be keeping the wheels turning. And my kids see me do that, and they see me do all of this, and I think they're proud that I've got my own business.
And it's such a cool business as well. Of like, do they ever ask you for fashion advice?
Well, my eldest one, when he went to sixth form, I kitted him out. I was like, right, okay, we're going to sort you out. He was in his jogging bottoms. I took him to Urban Outfitters in London, Oxford Street, and I kitted him out. And I'm proud of this, because he's a baggy jeans teenager, baggy jeans band t-shirt teenager. And I knew that was his vibe, because that's what you're good at when you're a personal stylist. You've got to get someone's vibe, right? Mm-hmm. My other son, that's not his vibe. So if I put him in baggy jeans and band t-shirts, he'd be like, what is this? He's more sports guy, he's like the jock. So he wouldn't suit that kind of thing. But I did restyle my elder son, and now he's fully embraced it, and now he's sort of found his style. He's got his thing going on, and he does that all himself now. But I just need to give him a little bit of direction. Yeah,
it's a perk as well. You can tell, like, if it meets, like, I don't know, women, or I don't know what stage is that, but someone can style you.
Yeah,
I don't know how kindly I'd take to that. Told my boyfriend, don't worry about it, my mum's gonna sort out your clothes.
You've got to be careful with that, I think.
I know.
I was wondering, because obviously we've talked a little bit about motherhood and how that was the catalyst for you becoming, moving into being a stylist. And I feel like what you do is also really relevant to mothers on their journey of, having had children. And Tiffany will attest to my brief just absence of any personal style. Well, actually, it probably wasn't that brief.
Girl, you always look fabulous.
I definitely had a time after having had Ted. I had a really stressful pregnancy, and obviously you can't drink. So I just ate loads of food. And I went from sort of being a size 10, and previously, like in my 20s, a size 8, to putting on 3 stone. So then when I had Ted, I was like, oh my God, absolutely nothing I owned before fits. I feel weird. My body's changed. Like, how do I find my style again? And I feel like even if you don't put on 3 stone, which I feels like at the high end of what you normally put on a pregnancy, your body changes so much anyway that I feel like even if you haven't had like an extreme weight gain, you might still feel like my body is not my own. I don't know how to dress it. What's your advice for mothers kind of coming out of the end of, I guess, the pregnancy phase, but also going back to the workplace, which is, then you have to find what your kind of workplace style is as well.
Yeah, I mean, all of that is daunting. I would say as well, I think it is really quite common to put on, that much weight in pregnancy. I think a lot of people do. I think some people are genetically predisposed to that as well. I think it's,
With mine, it was just I ate so much Nando's.
Or you comfort eat, and because if you have a tough pregnancy as well, you want a bit of, you want that comfort, don't you? And the treats, those sorts of things, and that's all totally understandable. And then obviously when you come out the other end, you're putting your clothes on and they don't fit. That must feel really horrible, and I know that must feel quite disheartening. And you feel actually a lot of people beat themselves up about it and sort of berate themselves about it, which is, I understand why they would do that, but you should try not to do that. My advice would be, if you're not fitting into your clothes, just try as much as you can to honor yourself as you are today, and just to still make yourself look nice and feel nice by wearing nice clothes, because it will definitely lift your spirits. Clothes can do that. It's not just, it's not a frivolous thing. It's self-identity, and it's making yourself feel good. So, even if whenever I'm working, I would never sit here in my pajamas in a million years, even if I'm on camera all day or I'm not really seeing anyone. I would never do that. I would always put my earrings in. I would always put something nice on, and I would get into work mode. And I just think that really helps to lift your spirits on yourself as you are today. You might lose the weight, but you might not, and you might have changed sizes, and then you just have to. Another thing I would say as well is you can ignore most sizes on labels anyway, because it's so wildly different from shop to shop. So if you're a size 14 in one shop and a size 10 in another, which you can be, try not to get hung up too much on the size, because I think we're all like, used to it. I used to be a size 8, and I think we've all got this kind of buried in our heads that we have to be this certain size, and it's all it's because of what we've been brought up on. It's culture, it's all of these things, the shame that they make women feel around sizing and all that sort of stuff. And I just think, honor yourself today. If you've got clothes in your wardrobe that aren't fitting, maybe take them out and pack them away for a bit, just looking at them every day, because I think that can make you feel bad, and just get some nice clothes that fit you. Don't start hiding under like real big sort of baggy clothes, because actually that can make you look bigger as well, and it can make you feel just down,
like kind of slobby. And
yeah, exactly.
Wow. And what about the kind of refinding your style?
So refinding your style, finding your style is a process. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And we change all the time anyway. We evolve all the time. So what your style, so you basically, if you're coming out of the baby years, the trenches, I like to call it, when you're really, you're crawling on your knees in the soft play, and you're going to the park and muddy puddles, all of that stuff, running around like a lunatic. There are simple things you can do, like add some nice statement earrings. Would be like Tiffany's wearing some lovely statement earrings today. Put on a bright lip like Alex. These little things can really give you a pickup and start to help you to feel a bit more stylish again. Now, a way to really find your personal style is to think about the things that light you up. What do you like to wear? Are you happy feeling casual? Have you got a bit of an edge to your style? If you've got a bit of edge, you probably like some chunky boots. You'd quite like to wear a dress with a pair of chunky boots. Are you more of a classic girl? Do you like a bit of tailoring? Try to take some time to do a Pinterest board. This is the best thing you can do. to put smart casual outfits into the search bar and start to pin things that you're attracted to. We are all attracted to different things. We're attracted to different kinds of people. You know, we have different tastes in our home. What's your taste? So really it's trying to get to your taste so you can start to introduce some things that really light you up in your wardrobe. It might just be a really lovely blazer, and you could be wearing your jogging bottoms and a t-shirt. Put this gorgeous blazer on and suddenly you feel put together and you feel a bit nicer. Put your bright lip on. You know, it's definitely a process. Like, my style is changing all the time as well. You know, I didn't find my style 20 years ago and stick with it. It's my style. I wouldn't wear the stuff I wore then. Now I want to wear a lot more. I want to be a lot smarter nowadays. I didn't really care about I couldn't give a toss about being smart when I was younger. It was all about wearing a cute dress or whatever. Now I just want to look pulled together. And if you're going back into the workplace, then tailoring is always going to be your friend. Every wardrobe benefits from a sprinkling of tailoring. And jackets mean you've got outfits. So the more jackets you have, the more outfits you have. So you could go back into the office if you've got a selection of jackets, good pair of tailored trousers and a shirt, you're really halfway there. That's, you know, it doesn't need to be complicated. And you can get jackets. Zara do good jackets. I mean, it's not top-notch tailoring. I can talk to you about that. But
definitely, I can relate.
You can definitely get decent jackets in there. They're doing, you know, if it's Christmas at the moment, they're doing great tuxedo jackets that look really chic.
Yeah.
So there are lots of options.
I'm really loving this. I'm really loving the specific tips you're giving, because I think we all need that. You sort of very specific, very like, you know, this can help you, your experience as well. A couple of things you said, which I thought was interesting. I think there is a lot of messaging for women around, like, everyone cares about what women wear. It's just such a sad, oh, look at this, you know, we're mentioning it, but look at this, I don't know, person, oh, she wore this. And it's like, no one talks about what men wear. So it's quite a sad comparison where it just was so, I think that puts more burdens on women, because everyone is so, they're just being judged by what they wear. So they start judging themselves by what they wear. And what you said there about this idea, because I think sometimes when you have a child, this idea that you're going to bounce back, and it's like, bounce back from what? You know, and I think it's important as well for women to be mindful of that. Like, you're not bouncing back, you're transitioning into, like, I mean, it happened to me. I used to work in a very corporate environment in London. I worked in Chancery Lane. I used to wear heels that were not comfortable, but I struggled in it. Now I look back and I think, why did I do that? But that was just me wanting to feel good and wanting to wear dress. And then I became a mom and I had to wear a lot of like jumpsuits. So I certainly kind of became more practical. And I think it's important for women perhaps to have that confidence as well, because, you know, you won't have to be casual, right? When you become mom, like you said about crawling, I'm definitely still at that stage where we're crawling in and out of things. So there is that sense of like, be comfortable to not bounce back, but transition to casual. And I love what you said about the jacket as well. I think that is such a simple way to look nice. You said about kind of the obviously finding good pieces. Let's kind of talk about that a lot more. Like, how can more mothers find, you know, pieces that will work well, especially if they're like budget conscious, right? They want to save because they have children, or they have to think about their spending as well.
I mean, my top tip is to get stuff from the charity shop when it comes to tailoring, because you can get beautifully tailored older pieces. So, you know, something from Zara, for example, is going to do the job, but it's not, like I said, top-notch tailoring. If you want something that's really beautifully made, like a tweed blazer or something like that, you know, in a Donegal tweed or something, you can find these things. Now, I know that it's time consuming to go to a charity shop. I mean, you might have to go to 5 to find a decent jacket, which is not practical. So you can look online at Oxfam. They've got a good range online, and, you know, Vinted is also really good for treasure hunting. So treasure hunting, really good, you know, cheaper, sort of higher level brands. But honestly, I really love Mango. I think Mango is fantastic for jackets. I really love a little boucle jacket, like a kind of Chanel
Yes.
style.
Mm.
I think that all gorgeous.
My
I'm
language.
laughing
They've
because
got a little-
Tiffany is
Yeah, that's
obsessed with that sort of jacket.
Oh, I
I
love
get mine
those
from Zara though,
jackets.
so I get in the sale actually, so that's works well
Yeah.
for me. I only shop in Zara sales, and they have it twice a year, so I get my jackets are like quarter of the price.
They do great
They
jackets,
do.
like little boucle jackets, but
Yeah.
Mango do too.
Oh, okay.
You get there's a lovely red one, for example. If you wore a red boucle jacket, you're going to really stand out and look fresh. Red really makes you look confident. And you can wear those with baggy jeans if if you've got a really casual workplace. Otherwise, go for a wide leg tailored trouser with that for a good work look. And I think, those jackets might be like brand new in Mango, maybe about 70 quid. But the amount of cost per wear you're going to get out of that, don't think of quantity, think of quality. Just having a few really well thought out pieces in your wardrobe really goes a long way, because at the end of the day, outfits are like a recipe. So you need the right ingredients to have a good selection of outfits. And that's why tailoring and jackets is always going to be a really strong ingredient in your wardrobe to help you to make these outfits. And, most people have got too much volume in their wardrobe and they haven't got the right pieces in there.
So what are the right pieces then? Sorry, Alex. Sorry.
No, it's fine. We're just both excited by this topic, I think.
Yeah, is it like a white t-shirt? Should you have a dark blazer? Should you have one pair of, like, what would you say are the, like, maybe, I don't know, 5 to 10 pieces that would help?
Yeah, I think you need a really great pair of jeans.
Okay.
I've got a fantastic pair at the moment from Zara that were 35 quid. They're the high-rise, wide-leg Zara jeans. I wear them all the time. I've been told, where I got them? They look designer. They're fantastic. I would say a boucle jacket in a nice color or a tweed. I would say a classic blazer will get you to, will really pull you together. I think you need a really great wool coat. Like lots of people wear like a North Face, so your dog walking coat, or your, going to the park with the kids coat. We do need those. It's bloody freezing. But if you're going into an office, you're not going to look that professional. You can get those kinds of things again cheaply, like New Look. If you're budget conscious, places like that. Jigsaw, obviously a bit higher price point, but they do great sort of city coats, I call them. I would also go for a raglan sleeve on a coat, because you can fit a blazer under it or a chunky jumper. So, like a drop sleeve. They're called raglan sleeves. Just that's if you're going for a wool coat and you're investing in it, I would go for a raglan sleeve, because you can fit more under it and get more mileage from it, basically. I would go for a really nice blouse, like this blouse here that I'm wearing today it's polyester. It looks silk. It's sort of 70s vibe, which is my vibe. I really love a bit of a 70s style. I love flares and that kind of thing. This was £35 in Mango. And, so you can get a smart button-up blouse, I would say, is another wardrobe essential. I would say a white T-shirt as well to wear under your jackets with some jewellery layered is another essential. Pay attention to footwear as well. So don't have just scruffy mud-covered trainers. Weirdly, I see that all the time. When I go on the tube, I see people they've obviously walked the dog or something that morning, and they're going to the office. They've got a nice outfit on, but then they've got like muddy trainers. And it kills the look, and it makes you look unprofessional. So if you're going for a trainer, you could do a smart white trainer, or, I think ankle boots. You get loads of mileage out of ankle boots, definitely. And again, you can get those anywhere. Zara do great boots.
And so how do you so we kind of have an idea of the pieces there that we should have, like, that will help people build a wardrobe. Why do people have such a big volume? Is it because they don't know how to put an outfit together and they think one more thing's going to solve the problem? do you see what I mean? I feel like this is a very familiar problem to a lot of people, of a wardrobe bursting full of stuff, some of it with labels on, some of it, they've bought and then not being sure how to wear it, I guess. Like, what are your thoughts on why people have this problem?
I think you sort of hit the nail on the head. It's you probably don't need more clothes. You probably just need more ideas. So it's about getting those ideas and thinking of ways to wear. Now, like I said before, an outfit is a recipe. So have you got the right pieces in your wardrobe, or have you just got volume? Lots of the same kind of thing. You said that people think, oh, I haven't got any outfits. How have I not got any outfits? I've got a wardrobe full of clothes. I should have loads of outfits. But that's not necessarily the case if you don't have the jackets, or all the stuff in there is reflecting a past version of you. So, it might be your life has moved on. You're now going back into the office or whatever, but these clothes reflect like a younger, freer version of you, or, and you wouldn't actually wear those clothes anymore. I wouldn't, I don't really talk much about trends because I'm not trend led, because I think you can have versions. I think what you need to pay attention to is cuts of things. So I wouldn't recommend skinny jeans at the moment. If you like them, crack on. They are good under boots, but I would go for more of a wide leg jean or trouser. So keeping your cuts modern is a good thing. But honestly, having a wardrobe cull is the best thing you can do. Try to leave your emotion at the door. People are emotionally attached to clothes. They feel guilty about getting rid of clothes. There's a lot of guilt hanging in wardrobes up and down the country because people just think they spent money on it. I've spent money on that, and there are things in there that will have tags on. There will be people listening to this who have got things in their wardrobe with tags on. Don't feel guilty. It was a mistake.
I'm literally here to let it go in my head.
Yes. Put it on Vinted. You won't get much money for it, but put it on Vinted and get it out. What's the point of keeping these clothes you're not wearing in the wardrobe? All it is clutter. It makes it harder to see what you actually need. It makes it harder to get the right ingredients to make outfits. What could be missing? Is it overall too casual, your wardrobe? Is it dated? Do loads of the clothes not fit you? Do you have any tailoring? What is missing? Try to work out the gaps in the wardrobe, so then you can shop with more intent, and then actually not just panic buy things in a snatched pocket of time. Actually, think about really rationally what you need and what could be missing. When was the last time you updated your coats? When was the last time you got a good pair of shoes that's going to give you that polish and help you look pulled together? Do you have good accessories? You don't need loads and loads of things. You don't. It feels a lot better when you're wearing most of the stuff in your wardrobe. It doesn't feel great when you're wearing a 20% proportion of your wardrobe, like almost everyone. That's really common. People wear around 20%. And also you tend to go for, because you're tired, you've been up with the kids since 3 because they've got a cold or, whatever, you've got to get to work. You just go for the quickest, easy option. But then that doesn't make you feel good. So, it's about trying to give yourself a few more options, but being thoughtful about it, spending some time thinking about it, because actually it saves you a lot of time in the long run. Yeah.
I'm interested to know, I think I was going to ask the question, do you have any tips for when we're dressing our kids? But then I know that sort of budget, it depends on people's budget and, that maybe a little bit personal, but I'm interested to know, how did this kind of your style consciousness or knowledge, not affect, but how did it impact how you dress your children?
Yeah, I mean, so basically, they are boys, they're real boys as well, and they've never really been that interested and bothered. So for me, I've always, because I actually don't think it's worth spending a lot of money on kids' clothes, because they grow like weeds. But I want them to look nice. When when we were little, we'd be going to parties and all of that stuff. Want them to look nice. So for boys, I've always gone to H&M and Primark. I've always really liked. And I think that, for kids, I think those sorts of brands are absolutely great. And, I don't really I did style my eldest one when he went to sixth form, but that was more about him because he was coming out of his uniform for the first time in his life. Right. He'd worn a uniform and everyone wore that uniform. And then suddenly he was like kind of having to dress in an outfit every day to go to sixth form. And he's not that confident. So it helped him to get that confidence. So there was a big element of that when I helped my 16-year-old when he went to sixth form, to help boost his confidence and help him. We all want to fit in. at the end of the day. We do. We've all got this desire. Some people are happy to really, really stand out, and that's great, and that's super confident. But at the end of the day, most of us just want to fit in. And for him, that was really important.
Wow.
So I'm not that exacting about what Ted has on for outfits, which is quite lucky because he's going through a phase of deciding he wants to pick his own clothes to put on.
How old
which
is
I
he?
mean, like 3 and a bit, which leads to some really, really poor combinations. I'm like, you know what? If you want to wear that, it's fine, mate. Just put it on.
Yeah. Chuck it on.
You know, like really clashing stuff. And I sometimes most of the time I'm getting his stuff out, but he might say, no, I don't want to wear that. And if it's a white t-shirt at the minute, he'll say, no, I don't like plain things like that. He wants to have on like bright stuff together.
Yeah, he's expressing himself and showing some personality. I love that.
Yeah.
And I just think, you might look slightly crazy, but fine. I'm fine to be seen with you like that.
Exactly.
But what about sustainability as well? So you're talking about, shopping on Vinted and stuff like that. And then while you're talking about, I guess, people's wardrobes being too full of stuff, people think, I can't afford to buy better. But if they stopped buying so much volume, then they'd be able to afford to buy better. And do you feel like that would be a better strategy?
Yeah, it's always a better strategy to buy less, but just be more considered in what you're buying. And most brands now have to be using sustainable fabrics and all that kind of stuff. But the sadness is the fashion industry makes it difficult to have a truly sustainable brand. It's actually it's all about profits and pile them high, sell them cheap. And just try not to. I mean, I have just mentioned Primark is a good place to shop for kids. It's not ideal. It's definitely that cheap, fast fashion. But I do think, and this might be controversial, but there are some people who just can't afford to shop anywhere other than Primark, and I think that it does serve a purpose, and they want to.
I feel like maybe some of the other brands that are more expensive aren't necessarily that much better in terms of like who they're employing to make their garments and stuff like that. So I feel like Primark are maybe not the demon that people kind of make them out to be.
No, exactly. And, it's definitely, I was in Primark yesterday in Tooting to get a couple of things for Christmas stuff, and it was just full up, and that was at nearly 7 when it was closing. There were just loads of people in there. So obviously, it's maybe they have cleaned up their act, because I know there's been some stuff in the past said about the people they employ and all of that kind of thing. I think now there's a lot more consciousness around that, working practices and everything else.
Let's talk about self-confidence. I mean, obviously, because I'm always conscious that as mothers, overall there's this idea that when you look good, you feel good. But obviously, motherhood comes with maybe being more casual, less dressy. What would you say about this idea that maybe we're not what we wear? We're not what we wear because we're going through a phase where, we're being impacted by this life-changing experience, right? What are your thoughts on that in motherhood and, just accepting and embracing that and dressing more casual if you need to?
I'm interested that you said that we need to be more casual as a mother. There was something along those lines you said.
Yeah.
This is, people believing that when you become a mother, you have to just give up kind of looking good, or, obviously because you are putting yourself on the back burner because the kids take up, it's absolutely relentless and full on. We all know that as mums. For a few years, it is absolutely. But it doesn't mean you can't enjoy looking good. And when you look good, you do feel good. And when you feel good, you're a better mother. So, even when you've had no sleep, putting on some lipstick and some nice earrings is going to elevate you and help you to tackle the day, because a lot of the time when you've got to tackle the day, it takes a lot of energy. And even if you're a working mum as well, that's another level, and juggling all the what to make for dinner and all these decisions you have to make every day. You don't want to be making lots of decisions about putting an outfit together in the morning. You know, and a lot of people will think that it doesn't merit any time to spend on that, but actually it does, because it makes you feel good and it makes you feel more elevated. And you know, look good, feel good is an age-old phrase, but it still holds a lot of weight. I just think it really makes sense.
And I guess maybe you can buy things that go together. I mean, I say this as somebody who just like didn't even brush their hair or anything when I was like going to big groups with Ted. But one thing I did actually do, because I knew I didn't have much time to think about things, I actually bought several of the kind of really patterned Marimekko t-shirts from Uniqlo, and I wore those with like a loose trouser. And like, I'm not by any means saying it was a pulled together outfit, but it meant that I had like easy things that went together. And I think something similar, Tiffany, with your Gymshark jumpsuits. You went for something that made you feel good, but was like a one piece that you could just pull on. So maybe it's about like that of finding a strategy, so you don't have to think about it on the day. But you've kind of pulled together some stuff that is easy but makes you feel not like a total slob, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? In the winter, like a really nice wool coat, like a checked wool coat, is your outfit.
Yeah.
You can literally be wearing your pajamas under that, and you do the school run, and you've got a lippy on and a really nice checked wool coat, and you just look pulled together, and a scarf. I mean, that's just like hardly any things that you've had to think about. But you will feel nice when you're bumping into people. You'll feel like you're ready to tackle the day. There's been loads of psychological studies done about it. There was one where they put they got two groups of people. They put them all in white coats. They told one group, you're wearing an artist's smock. They told the other group, you're wearing a doctor's coat. And then they got them to do a series of tests, and the people in the doctor's coats really did a lot better, because it's kind of this psychological thing that you're like, oh, I'm a doctor. You know, it's kind of, you know, and nothing wrong with being an artist. It doesn't mean artists are not as good as doctors, but
it's a perception. You know,
it's a perception. This is my point. It's a sort of perception thing. It changes others' perceptions of you, and it changes your perception of yourself. So it is worth paying attention, not to think that it's too frivolous. And there are easy ways you can just make yourself feel a bit more elevated in the morning.
I wonder if, I mean, how much of your clientele are women or mothers? Like, do you have a lot of that?
I think most of them, most of my clients are. I mean, most of my clients are lawyers. I get a lot of lawyers, and they've all got kids. Some don't have kids, but I'd say a majority have got kids.
I'd love to know the impacts. Like, can you talk us through how you working with them kind of changes their psychology and how they behave in their work as well?
Yeah, so I've worked with a few. So I work with a lot of people regularly as well. So once they've sort of booked me the first time and they realise that it takes away so much of their mental load, they're like, right, let's do my autumn winter wardrobe, let's do my spring summer wardrobe, because they've got big jobs like that. You know, there is one woman, she's sort of the head of legal at a big mobile phone company. She's got 3 young kids. Her husband works full time as well. I can't imagine, you know, the amount of stuff she has to think about is huge. So me making sure that she dresses really well means that she can hit the ground running. She can go to those boardroom meetings. She can walk on the stage and do a panel chat. She can go to a dinner next week in Mayfair. You know, this is something that she's called me about this week. And I tell her exactly what to wear, and, you know, and I find the clothes for her. So what it's done for her in real terms is just boosted her confidence and made her able to perform better at work. So it really does. It takes away from the mental load. So that's why I enjoy, and that's why I've set my business up to help people who are professionals. If I'm really being totally honest, which I want to be, is, you know, it's because it's expensive to hire a personal stylist. So, you know, with my fees and then what you spend on clothes, I take my clients to Harvey Nichols. So my clients are very senior professionals. They're my sorts of clients. There are other personal shoppers who work more on the high street and, you know, have a lower fee. And also you can go into John Lewis and get a free personal shopper. You can
That's
just,
cool.
you can just go in there. You don't have a minimum spend or anything. You can just book yourself a slot, go in, and actually, do you know what? It might be really refreshing to get some new ideas, to get your style. If you're feeling stuck in a style rut at the moment, anyone listening, go and get a free session. You are kind of expected to spend some money. I think there is an expectation, a bit of an expectation, but you could take stuff back, couldn't you, if you wanted to?
Oh, what a top tip.
Yeah, don't wear it. I'm not suggesting you wear it and then take it back. You can buy it. I am not condoning that, listeners. Just, you can, and if it's just quite nice to get some new ideas. It's refreshing.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I think actually one last question, if you don't mind. I think I liked because I think a lot of this conversation has been like, what are the affordable, practical ways to, look amazing? Are there things though that you think we should spend a lot on as like a long-term investment, be shoes or bags or like watch or something? What do you think we should spend a lot on, if possible, like save up and buy?
If I had the money, I'd have a Cartier watch, but
okay.
that's never going to happen. I don't think that's ever going to happen. I would say, I got my wool coat from Whistles in sale, and it was like half price.
Okay.
So I think now's a good time. The Christmas sales are starting, so I would say spend on a good coat, spend on some tailoring, a lovely blazer, at least a couple of blazers, and also a really nicely cut pair of trousers is always going to be a good investment, and boots as well. I think because boots last year's, so it's quite spendy to start with now, like a good pair of boots, but you'll get so much wear out of it. If you've got a good pair of knee-high boots, for example, it opens up lots more outfit opportunities because you can wear it with skirts, you can wear them with dresses, you can even wear knee-high boots under wide leg trousers, under wide leg jeans, culottes, all those sorts of things. So I think that would be a really good investment in the wardrobe. I think knee-high boots just look really chic and cool as well.
I think one of the best things I did was I bought a coat in Reese's sale, and I actually ended up selling it for quite a similar price that what I paid for, and it was amazing. So I wore it a few times and I sold it. So I think there are certain things that old value that you can obviously resell. So that's always a good way to look at it, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. If you're buying sort of higher value things, I just think it's worth. I'd like to say that a lot of people have a money mindset thing going on with their clothes. So like, say when you're at university and you used to spend £20 on a top, and now you still think that a top costs £20, right? This is the thing, right? Let me tell you, it doesn't. You cannot get a decent top, really, that's going to last in the wash and look good and all that kind of stuff. So there is a money mindset shift that needs to happen, and it is painful to pay out for a big ticket thing quite often, but the big ticket things in my wardrobe. So where I've bought like this, I bought this gorgeous blouse, and it was £150, right? It's a lot. I have worn that more than anything in my wardrobe. My All Saints leather biker jacket was £350. It's definitely one of the most worn items in my wardrobe. The cheap things, they're rubbish. It's not about volume. It's about having, don't buy these generic cheap clothes. Just try to sort of, find things that are going to give you mileage, give you outfits, stand the test of time, things you're going to love. So, a leather biker jacket is classic. A wool coat is classic. Knee-high boots, classic. Tailored blazer as well. They're the things to spend money on. Tops can be rotated, but that was really expensive. I mean, it is, every time I saw a client, I would put it on, I would feel good, so I have definitely got my money's worth out of it. So have you got a money mindset issue would be my question to people listening. Are you able to just shift your mind and just pay a bit more for something that's going to give you that quality?
I like it. I really do, because I feel like I can be really guilty of that, of buying multiple things rather than it would have made sense to buy the thing I really wanted that was more expensive rather than buy those. Exactly.
And if you've got something in your mind and you see it and you love it and you can't get it out of your mind, that's a sign, you know, that's a sign maybe you should get that piece. You just can't stop thinking about it. You've got to absolutely love things before you buy them, but you've also got to ask, what's this going to give me in my wardrobe? What outfits am I going to be able to get with this? Or am I just adding another something that, you know, I've already got in the wardrobe that does the same job? Think of your clothes as doing jobs for you. What job does that do for you? You know,
Really love it.
Yeah.
Love her. Thank you, Lisa.
No worries. I could talk about this forever.
So,
Hey, I have so many questions, but I'm conscious of time as well.
where do people find you, Lisa? Tell us about where they can find your podcast.
Yeah, so my podcast is called the Style Stories Podcast. It's at number 24 in the UK charts today in the fashion chart.
Yes.
And it's been at number 7. It charts around the world. So it's called the Style Stories Podcast, where I share lots and lots of tips around your wardrobe, confidence as well, also public speaking, going back to work. There's all sorts of things around it. So it's sort of confidence, image, fashion based podcast. So anyway, you get your podcast, you can listen to that. And then I've got my website, which is lisagilbestyleconsultancy.com. And you can find me on Twitter at Lise Gilbe, not Twitter, Instagram. I'm not on Twitter, and Twitter doesn't exist anymore. At Lise Gilbe Stylist. And it's
Twitter.
LISE, Lise Gilbe Stylist. If you can follow me over on Instagram as well.
Amazing.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. I've written down tips. Have you, Tiffany?
Oh. Yeah, a lot.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I'm glad of some help today. I've really enjoyed talking to you for our second run at the podcast.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it just as much as the first one. So thank you for coming back.
Thanks so much, Lisa. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.